Hello, hello, hello. It's Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Success Bully is an elite accountability practice, so that makes me your personal professional butt kicker. Welcome. Happiest of Mondays. I certainly hope that your weekend was restful, restorative, and that you are ready to rock it on out. Like we are in such a great position that we still have about a half of the year, a little less than half the year ahead of us. But this is a great time to really lean into the process, leverage all the tools at your disposal so that you can make this your best year yet. You still have time to make this your best year yet. So thank you for joining us. We're so excited to be here. When I started Success Bully, I said it as a joke and it turned into something, and I've been able to scale this coaching practice where I was able to retire from corporate, and this is what I do full time. And I work with entrepreneurs and service-based businesses who are really looking to add that 20 new clients in 12 months or less, kind of close that gap between a six-figure business to a seven-figure business. So if that sounds like you, go ahead and raise your hand. And so it's the month of July. And like I said, we have a little less than half the year ahead of us. But this is a great time to lean into the process, to achieve your goals, use all the tools at your disposal to get your big goals done. And one of those tools that we have built the foundation of this coaching practice around is the idea of accountability, right? The tool of accountability. And I was yelling about this last week, that accountability oftentimes gets a bad rap. It gets a bad rap because it's often used as a beat up stick. It is used when things have not gone well. Someone needs to be held accountable. The project didn't go according to plan. The project went over budget. Someone needs to be held accountable, right? Or you're misbehaving. You need to be held accountable. But the reality is, accountability is actually a tool. It's actually a tool that you can use to increase your chances of completing your goal. There's a statistic out there floating around that you're 95% more likely to complete a goal when you have consistent accountability, right? And so with that, I wanted to share with you how you can create your own accountability circle. So last week we talked about that DIY accountability. So how do you hold yourself accountable? And that is through tracking, that is through being really clear about your goals, tracking your progress, whether you have a good day or a bad day. Now, let's talk about how do you create an accountability circle, an accountability community, a space where you can empower and support one another to get your goals done. Before I get into that, of course, I have to share with you that we're so excited to have you in our participating in our community. If you're watching this live in our Facebook group, know that you have a personal concierge. So if you have any questions, you're looking for resources, if you're stuck in your business and you need a little support, we're here to serve, 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 serve. So if your first name begins with the letters A through M, Sai is your personal concierge. If your first name begins with the letters N through Z, Lucille is your personal concierge. And so we're here to support you. So look for friend requests from them, look for messages from them, look for a personal friend request from me. Feel free to connect with me on any of the platforms. Again, we are here to serve, serve, serve. And we want to make sure that you have everything you need from us anyway to be successful. We don't want you to sit somewhere and go, I'm stuck, or I don't know the answer to this, so I can't move forward, or I'm not sure how to price this. That takes me 5 minutes to give you an answer on that, right? So reach out, connect with us. You can always book a strategy session at successfully.com/call. All right. And so let's talk about building your accountability circle. Okay. So the first part of the accountability circle is this: choose wisely. My first tip is choose wisely, in the sense of you cannot force somebody to be your accountability partner, right? You cannot cajole them. You cannot persuade them. Um, you want somebody that is as bought into the concept of achieving their goals as you are, right? And so You have to choose wisely in that oftentimes it doesn't work with really close friends. It's really hard to hold one another accountable when you're really close friends and you don't want to hurt each other's feelings. It's hard for relatives to hold one another accountable. It's hard for spouses to hold each other accountable, or it takes on a different tone when it's coming from a spouse. And so when I think about if I had to hand select an accountability partner, number one, they have to be as bought in as I am. Number two, they have to be okay with being honest with me. They have to be okay with being honest with me and telling me, if you have that friend that will tell you they don't like your outfit and why, that's the kind of person you want in your accountability circle. And then commitment level. Are they going to show up when they say they're going to show up? Are they going to they're going to participate at the same level of intensity that I'm going to participate in? And are we going to be in a space where we can carry and support one another? I think it's really hard to have an accountability partnership with someone that you have to drag with you, right? It's really hard if you have to pick them up and carry them the whole way. So definitely choose someone that's as committed as you, that's willing to do the work, that is willing to be vulnerable, willing to be transparent, right? So choose wisely, right? And know that with any relationship, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship, whether it's a colleague, there is that it requires communication and honesty and nurturing. So just like with your accountability partner, your accountability circle, how you start is not how you end. So give yourself grace and space to get used to the process with one another, get used to um what works for you. You'll define it as you go along. How you start may shift, or you may find a better way of communicating with one another. Just be willing to invest in that relationship. So when you choose wisely, be willing to invest in the relationship. And like any other relationship in your life, it does require that work, right? It requires work. You just don't, point at one person and say we're accountability partners, or send out an email we're accountability partners, right? It is a conversation. It's a practice. It's going to take time to work with one another. And so just understand that. The second thing that I think is really important, so after you choose wisely, I think the other piece that you really need to take into consideration is developing a definition with your accountability partner. So just because you think this is what it should look like, this is how it should look, that may not work for your accountability partner. So again, that's communication. So like setting your expectations, being realistic about how often you're going to check in with one another, right? Being what are you going to share with each other? So like are you going to share your food log? Are you going to share your food diary every day? Are you going to share your goal setting worksheet with each other? Are you going to share your action plans? Are you going to share your benchmarks? What are you going to actually share so that you keep each other accountable, right? And so and I think that it is a lot of pressure to put on one accountability partner 5 different goals across 5 areas of your life. One thing that I like to work on with my clients is having a North Star banner goal that has the highest impact on your life, right? So when you have that high impact goal, it's one thing to track, but the amount of dedication, the amount of work, the amount of time management and discipline it takes to really crush one major high impact goal, that has a ripple effect in the rest of your life. So really think of, while you're being honest, make sure that you're being equitable and fair with your accountability partner. If you're asking them to hold you accountable for 5 different areas in your life, that's a lot to ask of somebody. You're asking them to help you project manage 5 different goals. And there's nothing wrong with having to that point, there's nothing wrong with having multiple accountability partners depending on what type of goals you're working on, right? So like when you think about health and wellness, well, your trainer and your nutritionist may be your accountability partners in that space. Whereas a a fellow entrepreneur may be your business accountability partner, right? And so just kind of think about it. It's in a lot to ask of someone to be your catch-all, accountability partner. So again, what's the definition? What does this look like for one another? Like, there's like, I believe it's called what is this called? It's called the 5 points of clarity. 5 points of clarity. So you want to make sure that you have this kind of setup with when you're thinking about this definition. So you have chosen wisely, and now you have chosen your accountability partners, your accountability circle. You've chosen wisely. So now we have to set the definition and put some guardrails around things. So with that 5 points of clarity, clear expectations. What are we expecting out of this accountability relationship? Right? Are we expecting that we all hit our 80% of our goals every week, 80% of our action items every week? Are we looking to see month over month growth in terms of revenue? What are our expectations? And then clear capabilities. So who's doing what in terms of the accountability check-in? So is someone the secretary taking all of the notes and sending around the recap? Is someone tracking all the data, or like who's in charge of what? Who hosts the call? Is it something that we do virtually? Is it something that we do in person? I think this is some things that an accountability circle often misses is clear measurement. So are you measuring the actions? So are you measuring how many actions you took in a certain week? Are you measuring pounds lost or inches lost? Are you measuring are you measuring uh words written? If you have a writing accountability group, are you measuring, pages written or the amount of words written? What is the clear measurement that you're kind of benchmarking against? And then clear feedback. Do we give each other verbal feedback? Do we give written feedback? If it's a writing group, do you submit your sample and then you get edits? How do you want to receive that feedback? And then finally, clear consequences. And so oftentimes, again, this is why choosing wisely is so important. That I hope that you don't have to get to this point. I hope that you don't have to get to this point um, where you have to say, hey, this isn't working. And so it's so much easier to have those clear, especially if it's a group larger than two, have those clear consequences, right? So if you miss 3 meetings, we can't keep you in the accountability circle. Or if you come to the circle and you have no updates, you have no forward motion for 3 consecutive weeks, there has to be some clear guardrails on how you want um to make sure that everyone's getting the most out of it. Because again, it's unfair, it's unequitable where you have 3 people that are doing the work and one person that's showing up, right? And while sometimes showing up is all you can do, it's it's not edifying everyone else in the group. Eventually, the folks that are doing the work start rolling their eyes at the person that's not doing the work, right? So we want to make sure that we're all showing up as the best version of ourselves. And if you are having a bad week, share that. Share that. And so when I think about a high performance accountability group, I would say at least meeting once a week. I think that twice a month or every other week, or once a month, so much can get lost in the weeks between when you have your meeting and when you check in. And so like I think it's like really important that you have that set time at same time every week that you're going to check in with each other. It doesn't have to be a long meeting. It can be done in less than 30 minutes, maybe 15, depending on how many people are in the group. And the way that I kind of structure these things is, okay, these are the actions that I said I was going to take last week. This is what I accomplished. So again, we're trying to hit that 75 to 80% completion on your week to week action plans, because that will keep you on target with your goal. When you complete less than that, it's really hard to hit those 90-day benchmarks. And so what you said you were going to do, how'd you do with it, their levels of completion, and like make this part factual. Because after you get through everyone's, here's what I said I was going to do versus what I did, then you can start talking through troubleshooting. What are we going to course correct for next week? What are you celebrating? What are you going to do differently? You can, if you don't complete something and then you immediately have the excuses on why, or the rationale on why you weren't able to complete it, it becomes more of a complaint tank than actually an accountability circle, right? And so we want to make sure that we're just really clear on the facts on what we were able to do, and then we can talk about where you need support. What are you going to do differently in the following week? How does that impact the goal that you're heading towards? So you had a bad week. How do we make sure that next week we don't duplicate that? What are we going to do differently this week? And this is why that tracking component is important. And this is why, because the data doesn't lie. There is information in the bad weeks, just like there's information in those good weeks. So that's why it's important to track everything. So when you think about establishing your accountability circle, just to recap, you want to choose wisely. So, you want to make sure that you have someone that is as committed as you are, that is willing to do the work, but you're not forcing them to be an accountability partner. You're not dictating to them that they are your accountability partner. It is a mutual decision. It's a mutual decision. And just like any other relationship, it takes nurturing, it takes trust building, and it takes honesty, and it takes communication. So, like, it will get better, but it also is dependent on the level of work you put in to cultivate that relationship, right? And secondly, you want to make sure you have a clear definition with your accountability circle, that we're clear about expectations, meeting cadences, those capabilities, who's doing what, measurement, consequences, what we're hoping to get out of it. And I would say, like, in this accountability circle, that your mission aligned with the same type of goals. So if you have someone with a health and wellness goal that's trying to work with someone that has a revenue goal, and those are misaligned, right? And so making sure that that definition is there, that you have similar goals in mind. And then, of course, keeping those best practices in mind, like the structure of the meeting, making sure that you share what's worked, what you accomplished that week, what you did last week, how you did this week, how you did on your action items. And then we can talk about that troubleshooting, and you set expectation for what you're going to do in the upcoming week. And so if you look around at your immediate circle and you do not have an accountability partner, or you're having trouble identifying an accountability group, or you're finding it just difficult to find someone that's as bought in as you, this is where I say reach out to your personal concierge, or reach out to book a strategy session at successbully.com/call. And I will say that a large component of coaching is accountability. And so if you are finding it hard to hold yourself accountable, you're getting in your own way over and over and over, and you look up and you're in the same place you were this time last year, or you're in the same place you were for the last 2 years, and you are clear that you're the problem, and you don't have a working circle or an accountability mechanism in place, reach out. uh, a lot of what we do here is steeped in accountability, right? So you can grab time with me for a strategy session to see if we're a good fit, if we can support you in the big goals that you want to accomplish before the end of the year at successbully.com/call. Once again, I am Keita Williams, and I am the founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Let's get after it.